part 6 of The Journey of the King, part 2 of Time and the Gods, is very much, I feel like, is like a collection of sermons that are being given to this king, and very much in the language of, yes, the King James Bible. I think is very much feels like it's a part of this. It's odd because a part of it feels like that, a part of it feels like the people that came after Dunsany. It sounds to me like very much like Lovecraft. Like Lovecraft got a lot, I would think, from the language of Dunsany. He took it and he used it as flavoring. But this is like the pure, you're eating spice without the narrative meat and sinew that it would perhaps be flavoring otherwise. There's also the sense of like, I feel like I'm in church and I'm getting sermon after sermon, and it's beautiful language, but it is like it's sermon after sermon. And if I wasn't reading it out loud myself, if I was listening to someone else read it, I would probably have that thing. I'm not a big churchgoer, but that thing of listening to someone speak and just slowly nodding off as they continue along. An amazing language, but it's like, okay, you gotta wake up, you gotta engage, and definitely doing the reading of this out loud is engaging. In this one, it's you're on Dream Camel King, and you're going from naught, and you're going to return back to naught again. The resting camel shall come on the city of ceasing. There the dream-wrought pinnacles and spears that are built of men's hopes shall rise up real before thee, seen only hitherto as a mirage in the waste. So far the swarming hours may not come, and far away among the tents shall stand the dark figure with a nimble sword. This is time. But in the scintillating streets, under the song-built abodes of the last cities, thy journey, O king, shall end. So you will come to a resting, and that resting is not you're very much. This is the prophet of Jrny, who has no name, and you stop at his temple, and he'll tell you whether you're going to actually make the trek across the 10 days journey across the desert to the white city of Inantu, or whether his bones shall lie with the bones of old along the desert track. And then, he launches into this thing of basically how then began thy journey over the wastes. Many a year before the making of the moon, thou camest down with dream camels from the city without a name that stands beyond all the stars. And then began thy journey over the waste of naught, and thy dream camel bore thee well. And basically saying, like, you came from city without a name over the waste of naught, and then you have little encampments where you pop up as a conscious human being. Then you fold those tents, and you're traveling again in the waste of naught, and then you travel again. So there's, again, we're getting that cycle of your soul has been this person, nothing, this person, nothing, this person, nothing, until finally you will come. You'll come to the city of ceasing, where you just won't come anymore, and who knows when that'll be. But when it does, time will have come for you, and that'll be it. You'll be done. So, yes. Again, I love the multiplicity of faiths, the multiplicity of ways of looking at the universe, all of which are completely true to the people speaking them, and also standing beside someone who thinks of something else is completely true, and then someone else who thinks something is completely true, and are perhaps just other ways of looking at the universe. I mean, there's a part of that one of like little encampments and then back into nothing that makes sense to me as I've coalesced into this person with a consciousness, and then at some point this will break down. I will no longer have consciousness. I will be in the naught, NOUGHT, and be nothing, and who knows when. some of the same energy might coalesce into another being, which will be completely different than this being. I will have no memory. There's no remembering past lives and stuff like that, as far as I would think of. But energy coalesce. Maybe I'll coalesce into some grass. Maybe that grass will get eaten into a camel. I don't know. It's an interest. It's just, it's strangely modern way of looking at things, cast through this fantasy world, which is something interesting to think about. That the concept of a fantasy is a modern concept. Before, and you can see that when people have religious people have trouble with fantasy books and feeling like this is sacrilegious, this is something that is evil from their perspective. And a part of that is that they're looking at this stuff and saying like, no, this has meaning, whereas a modern sensibility is like, no, this is made up stories. Like, we make up everything, like we make up religion, and that obviously jars against a much older tradition of believing, no, I have beliefs of the Greek gods. I have beliefs of all these, of river spirits, of animal totems, like all that, which is like, no, this is how I've organized my world, and this means something to me. This is the prism through which I exist, and probably don't even see the prism over that. It just is. So yeah, it's interesting to kind of come back to kind of an figure of fantasy and go, this is why fantasy, in the concept of fantasy, is starting kind of here, out of fairy tales, out of that. This is the moment where this kind of is going to coalesce. This Tolkien, and then I read a lot of fantasy now. I'm reading a fantasy book at the moment. So yeah. This I probably should tag this little video as something to review before I do a review of the first 2 books of this, because it's interesting. It's just interesting to kind of come to that on my own. I'm sure there's plenty of smarter people who've already or have come to a completely different, much more logically consistent viewpoint of this. But yeah, interesting. All right, I will leave it there. More videos later.